Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we're going to answer a very frequently asked question. What are some of the best $50 to $60 bourbons out there, and my recommendations? Run the video. Alrighty then, folks. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the Whiskey Cove's channel. I know that it might be a big commitment for a lot of you folks out there because you might be a little bit unsure right now, but hopefully you can watch enough content to know that we want to try to bring you all the best information of the whiskeyverse, filter it down, streamline it, put a bow on it, and bring it to you in the most entertaining / informative way that I can. So please consider hitting that subscribe button. And all the grovelling's been done, hit the like button too. With that being said, we have a bunch of whiskey that I want to talk to you about today. So as I said, we've been asked this question quite a few times, and I believe it was asked on the live stream that we did as well. What are some of the best $50 to $60 bourbons out there? And I will say one of these is not a bourbon, but it is so good, it makes the list. And I tell you why, because it may or may not be a bourbon. There you go. With that being said, let's just delve straight into these. And I know that MSRP varies greatly from state to state, city to city, country to country. However, here in Colorado, we might say a little bit high, but this is more of an understanding that I have around. And a lot of the MSRP I take from maybe in my mind about my trips to Kentucky and other parts of the US. So I've been liquor or bourbon hunting in probably about 40 states in the US. So I've been to 47 out of the 50 states. And I've probably looked for a bottle in probably each one apart from maybe Delaware, because we just driving through. So I think I have a fair understanding of MSRP prices, albeit a lot has changed in the last few years. So bottle number one, we went with 1792 bottled in bond. Not just any 1792 bottled in bond, but the store picks. The store picks are phenomenal value for money. Yes, you will need to maybe find a store that the person who picks the barrels might have a similar palate of yours, and that might take a little bit of trial and error. However, when you're able to get someone who's able to do that, then you should stick with them. And if they drop one of these, you should definitely pick it up. So this in Colorado is like $45, maybe $55. It's just so good. I get a little bit of banana runster off the bat there, a little bit of caramel, banana bread there as well. It's just so great, and it's really great value for money as well. And because this is never a single barrel, you're getting a single barrel. So you can get a couple of these and really have some fun with them. Like I said, you might see them priced up a little bit more, but I think $45 to $55 definitely falls in line with that $50 to $60 bracket that we're talking about here today. Somewhat findable. They've slowed up a little bit here in Colorado lately. I did just buy another one of these the other day. I don't know where that bottle is. It's here somewhere. I think we showed it in a store, the whole video here not so long ago. However, great value for money, 1792 bottled in bond. And next up, and we can't have best bourbons from $50 to $60 without this whiskey being on there, and that is Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Yes, it has a little bit of that Wild Turkey funk. What is that Wild Turkey funk? It's like a little bit of leather, a little bit of dustiness, maybe a little touch of like peanut shell, and a lot of spice there as well. But it's very drinkable. It is a little bit spicy if that's something that you like. The proof is definitely there with 58.4% ABV or 116.8 proof. Mostly findable as well, this bottle is. Much like the 1792 bottled in bond single barrel picks, this is also kind of dried up a little bit here in Colorado in 2023. However, in the back end of 23 going into 24, I started seeing these quite often. And maybe it's just into now that they've changed to a new label. I don't think this is it, this is the old label. But they've switched to a new label, and I think they pushed out a lot of product to Colorado since they did that. MSRP is probably about $55, so that's right on the money. And this is just a massive crowd favorite of people in the bourbon world. And you'll be hard pressed to find someone who does not like this bottle. A great bottle of whiskey that is Wild Turkey Rare Breed. Next up, we're going to switch to a wheated bourbon, and we're going to go with Maker's Mark Cask Strength. So we did a Maker's Mark blind, where we blinded like 6 of the wood finishing series, Maker's Mark 46 cast strength, and then the regular offering of cast strength. This was a blind we did like a year ago, so this finished second out of overall. Phenomenal value for money, right around that price bracket, about $52, $53. This one is coming in at 112.5 proof or 56.25% ABV, batch number 21-08. Great pillowy mouthfeel, you get enough of that wood, typical Maker's Mark wood presence there as well. A little bit of green apple, maybe a little bit of like apple sauce, but it's got apple chunks in it. You put it onto like a hot pan on the stove and just char it up a little bit so the apple caramelizes. Kind of get a lot of those flavors, that brown sugariness with this bottle. Mostly findable in most states. I say most states because you're not going to find it in probably like Pennsylvania, where you can find like nothing there. You're lucky to find bourbon. That being said, very readily available in Colorado for that price tag of about $52 to $53. Next up, and let's do some Buffalo Trace stuff, because we can't have a tier list like this and not have any Buffalo Trace stuff, right? And that is going to be Stag Junior. Yes, I know. Who's finding it for $50 to $60? Yes, you can still find it for that price tag. Probably pushing it now, but I still see it $59.99 because I just bought one a couple of months ago for that price tag. You can get single barrel picks that might be a little bit more expensive, but if you're able to hit one of these for $55 to $60, then wow, what a bourbon that you're getting. Deep, dark, toasted, fresh cut oak, like church pew notes, brown sugar, all the fun stuff that you want from a really like toasty barrel strength whiskey, and also a little bit of like caramelized brown sugar, cinnamon, some allspice. It definitely has a little bit of spice there as well, but a great whiskey. And I know some of you are never going to find it, or at least find it for that price, but you can still get it for $60. And that is Stag Junior, or just Stag nowadays actually, because they dropped the Junior. Next up, and let's do 3 bottles in a line, because as I was picking these out, they're all very similar bottles, as you'll see. I was like, that's good. That's right around the price tag. That's good too. That's good. They're all kind of like the same price, and I know I don't want to hype up all, but these have been hyped up enough. It doesn't matter if I hype them up. And that is a bunch of the Weller series. So these are probably my 3 favorite ones from the Weller series. So I've tried every Weller apart from Emma Wheat. I don't know if you could say that's in this series, but I haven't tried it. So the 12-year is phenomenal. So is the Weller Antique 107, and so is the Fall Proof. These are just phenomenal tasting whiskies. They both represent something a little bit different. You're going to get more like a bacon spices, creme brulee notes with this one. This is very red berry forward with a touch of sweetness and enough proof to cut through that sweetness. And then this is just aged and has a really nice like oak tanniny palate. It doesn't have as much sweetness as the other two, so if you're someone who likes a sweeter whiskey, definitely try to find one of these two. But if you like an aged bourbon with some of those vanillas and caramelized notes and char notes, and definitely go for this one. But it does have a more of a tanniny mouthfeel, and it can hit and dry out the palate a lot. For the value money, you're paying right around $50 for each of these 3, if you can find them for MSRP. And I feel like we don't really need to preference that anymore, because we're talking about MSRP here, not secondary, right? Fortunate that I have these 3 whiskeys. Love OW, well, I just love them all. They're all fantastic. I like these 3 better than the other 3, the Special Reserve, the CYPD, and the Single Barrel. Don't look for those, look for these, because these are the real hitters there. That was these 3 Wellers. So we have 4 bottles left, and this was the whiskey that I told you is kind of like a bourbon, kind of not, and it's because it's so good it had to be on this list, and that is Jack Daniel's Barrel Proof. So this is a Tennessee whiskey, but Jack Daniel's do file every year for the fact that it's a bourbon and a Tennessee whiskey, so they file together. Some people will say that it's not a bourbon, some people say that it is. And I think it's just a bit of both. Much like the Stag, it has a lot of those like toasted oak, fresh wood, but this also gives you a little bit more from the yeast I think they put in it, because there's a lot more banana savory bread forward with a little bit of walnuts there. There's some caramel sauce on top with a little bit of brown sugar. So good. It's great value for money. Never sleep on this bottle. If you've been thinking about, I kind of don't want to get it, it's like $55. It's phenomenal value for money. Definitely get it, and the proof on ABV definitely gets up there as well. This is 64.9% ABV or 129.8. If you can find them for 130 proof or 65% ABV and above, they are just oh so special as well. Oh, so special as well. Like I said, $55 to $60. Great value for money and one of the best whiskeys / bourbons that you can get for that price range. Next up, and we have Old Forester 1920. Could have chose Old Forester 1910 for this list, but we've been showing that bottle a lot of love lately, so we went with Old Forester 1920. This does have some similar notes to the Jack Daniel's barrel proof, so if you really like the flavor of that, but that proof is maybe a little bit too much, then you might want to try this. This is coming in at 57.5% ABV or 115 proof, much like the Weller full proof. Offers a lot of that like a yeasty, caramel, bready notes that does offer a lot of that toasted barrel there as well. But it just drinks so easy. It drinks like a 50% ABV or maybe a little bit below that. Definitely great for a Friday night pour, and this list would not be complete without this bottle because it is phenomenal juice, and it sits on the shelves as well. It's not allocated. Every state probably should be able to find this in the Jack Daniel's, at least maybe even the Wild Turkey rare breed. So if there's 3 bottles on this list, you should be able to find. I think those 3 are definitely the ones. Never sleep on Old Forester 1920. And of course, we couldn't leave this list without mentioning John J Bowman single barrel. I know the price has gone up. I wish it stayed at $50. However, it's more closer to 60 now. 50% ABV or 100 proof, not old in bond, but it is a single barrel. It is a product of Virginia. It is owned by Buffalo Trace / Sazerac. Buffalo Trace distill, I think it's mash bill 1. They send the distillate out to Virginia. Virginia folks down there at Bowman Distillery redistill it, and then they age it there, and what comes out is just a phenomenal product. This whiskey in a blind beat E.H. Taylor single barrel. It was so close, but ultimately I went for this one. I just love kind of like the waffle, ice cream, kind of vanilla notes I got from this. It also has some red berry notes there as well. Not much spice on the back end, but a beautiful slathering of wood that balances everything out. At 50% ABV just helps everything along its way. That was John J Bowman single barrel. And then speaking of E.H. Taylor single barrel, the last bottle on this list, we went with E.H. Taylor single barrel. Yes, much like the Wellers, the Stag, and probably most things on this list, very difficult to find for $50 to $60. However, MSRP is like $50 to $55. So don't hit Buffalo Trace for that. They're pricing up their products right on the mark. However, it is very difficult bottle to get. I have been able to pick up one single barrel of this year. So much like the Weller full proofs, you do see some in Colorado dropping at the bigger liquor stores, and if they're getting like 200 bottles, you have a pretty decent shot at getting yourself one. I know that's not the same for a lot of people out there. Much like the John J Bowman, it shares very similar palate as that one. Again, the vanilla ice cream notes, the beautiful wood presence, that kind of typical Buffalo Trace kind of trio, holy trinity if you like, the cherry, the vanilla, and the wood and the oak. Just go hand in hand and make a superb balanced whiskey. So I think all in all, these are 11 bottles between $50 and $60 that if I could just pick up for that price and not have to hunt for them, these would be my starting points. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. I know, prices are different where you might live, but maybe this is a bit of a benchmark that you can kind of work from because it's very difficult, I'm finding, from a lot of you folks out there, that you don't know like a true value of what MSRP is, because a lot of the stores you keep going to, people just mark up the prices. I think I was talking to someone recently and they said that they thought Blanton's MSRP was like $99, which is crazy talk. I think it should be more like $60, $65 is usually where it's supposed to sit at, but they had no idea about that. They were just buying it for like $100 every time. Don't buy Blanton's for $100 unless you really want to. You do what you want to, it's your money. So as we say on this channel, as you drink through hopefully these 11 whiskeys around the world in one glass and one pour at a time, this is the Whiskey Cove, and I just absolutely butchered that. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.